like my students up to 75% to 100% mastery in those topics. And if I can see they're struggling, I might click on that subtopic and make an adaptive task due tomorrow, next week, next month, preview the questions or create a custom task. That's kind of a little shortcut way of helpfully seeing an overview of where you want your students to be and boosting your students in those particular subtopics. You can also see show the improvement over a certain amount of time. So if you want to see, okay, how many students improved their mastery just today alone, and if you know there's one student who they're usually one of your top students and they should be at 100%, but they're at 80%, you're like, okay, that's pretty good. But you can see that for today, they didn't improve at all at their mastery, then you're going to know, and I might just chuck that to something so hopefully it'll show something there. So it'll show you little improvements for today, for whatever time you've set. And if you know that they should be at 100 and today they did nothing, they didn't increase their mastery at all, that might be where you can give a prompt to one of your better students, like, I know that you're doing quite well in this topic, but you could be doing better, and I see that you haven't improved at all, so I'd really like you to progress with that. So that could be another useful way of using that sort of information to do that. So what I might jump into now, so in terms of time, how much time you probably...
35 minutes.
Sure. Alright, well I might run through now, actually, I'll show you how to create a class, how do you create a task, and we've looked at sort of a little bit how to read the results of that, but we might look at that a bit more if we've got some more time as well. Alright, so in terms of class creation, you'll head it over to this admin section here, and actually before that, you'll click on this section here, and you'll click add a new class. You'll create a title for the class, and you'll add curricula for it. Once that class has been created, you can go to the admin section there, and of the class that you've just created, you just have to select it from here. And to add your students, we've tried to find a balance between giving the teacher control over the class from an admin perspective, but not making it a laborious data entry job for the teacher. So the balance we've done to do that is we've created this link, mathspace.co/join, and every time you create a new class, it'll be given a new unique class code. So imagine this was your first Mathspace class. What you might say is, okay everyone, I would like you to go to this link on the board, or if you've got some way of emailing them that link, you could do that with the class code. They'll then go to that link, enter the unique class code, enter their first name, last name, and student email, and they'll have created their own account. They'll have joined your particular class, and they'll have instant access to Mathspace. So that's how you can add students. You could add them manually yourself if you'd like, and you can also just remove it from here as well if the student's left or whatever it might be the case, they've moved. If you need to, you can reset passwords to a generic password, but students can reset it themselves, and they'll get a prompt in their email address asking them to reset their password. So class creation, that's as long as it takes. Of most teachers, it takes them about 5, maybe 10 minutes if there's somebody did a typo or something like that. But it doesn't take too long to get accounts created and get everyone started. But before then, you could have already created your tasks ready to go for that class. So in terms of then creating tasks for your students, you'll jump into your planner page, and you'll be on a future date where you want the task to be due. You'll click the little plus sign that's on there, and now you'll have the choice of those 3 different task types. You can create an adaptive task, a custom task, or a fast track. So an adaptive task, that's where Mathspace will individualize it for each student and progress them at their own pace. A custom task, you've got a bit more control over that, where you can actually select from multiple subtopics specific types of questions you'd like and a number of questions you'd like. And then the fast track, as I mentioned before, is similar to a pretest, where it'll take a snapshot of all the subtopics within a topic and then accelerate those students through the content that they already know. So it might be good to do a fast track every now and then. Students can also individually do their own fast tracks to try and boost the content and stuff that they know. So I'm going to show you how to create a custom task and what that would look like. So I can assign it to multiple classes, and being a custom task, I can assign it to individual students as well. And think of classes as groupings. So you can actually have unlimited amount of groupings as you like. You're not limited to just having your 7B class. You could have 7B blue and 7B green, and those are subgroups within your class. So feel free to group them however you'd like, and that way it helps with differentiation as well. Some people then can assign something to one part of their class, one thing to another. I then choose the start date. That's when they can actually see the task and get into it with a due date. The expiry date will be time that they can access the task, but it won't count towards their results for that task. And this was a feature we added last year at a request of a lot of teachers, to make the numbers the same for every student and to disable the hints and videos, so they could emulate something more like test conditions, where everyone will have the same questions but even the same numbers, and they won't have access to the hints and the videos. But for general use, we'd recommend that you enable variation and allow for hints and videos. So now I can choose the content that I would like for my curricula, my topic and subtopic, and then I can just drag and drop these over to create my task. And so if I want to grab something, maybe I want to grab it from the previous year as a way of sort of introducing them into this content. Maybe I'd drag content from grade 6 first before going on with the grade 7 content. That could be one way of doing it. And you can create your own task however you'd like. Now those numbers there would if you have variation enabled, they'll each get that same type of question you've selected, but the variation will change for every student there. The last thing you need to do is just, you can select to save it to shared exercises, which would mean you have access to it again if you'd like to collect that again, or you've also shared it to all the faculty in the school. So every teacher now in the school can search the shared exercises, maybe filter your name or whatever you might have called it, and they'll have access to your task, which they can use for their class as well. So I have some schools where the head of maths will actually create custom tasks for every year level as more of an analysis tool, and then every year those year levels will have those same tasks from the shared exercise that they can use that. But there's plenty of different ways people use MathSpace, being a very open system. They use it in lots of different ways. They name their task. They might use some sort of naming convention to helpfully remember that this was something I created 2017. That'll be up to you how you name it. And then they save the task, and after the due date, the start date, the students will be able to access that. So at this point, I might ask you and get some sort of feedback on some of the adaptive custom tasks. So now sort of seeing a little bit of what it looks like for an adaptive task and creating that, and custom task and creating that. How do you see perhaps using an adaptive task over a custom task in your class, or maybe a custom task over an adaptive task?
So with the adaptive, like one kid might be doing a certain question, a kid beside might be doing the same question with different numbers and stuff, so they have different answers.
Yep, and that would even be in the case of the custom task as well. You'd still have that variation. But for the adaptive task, if they're getting it correct, it'll push them onto harder questions within that topic. Whereas if they're struggling, it'll give them the same types of questions until they've mastered that.
Okay.
Yep.
I can see I'd like to use a custom task for just particular problems that we may have had trouble with. Like I remember recently we had a bit of drama with double negatives with, don't laugh at me, Kathy.
I'm not laughing at you, I'm just feeling your pain, Kevin.
And, you know, that might be something I might want to give the kids half a dozen of, just bang, 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 just
to really
smash
focus
people
on that?
Yeah.
Yep, definitely. So custom task is definitely good for focusing on particular things. That's, really good usage. So I might throw this out there. So if you were to give homework to students using MathSpace, how do you think you might, just from this initial view, no right or wrong answers, but how do you think you might go about doing that? Would you use adaptive? Would you use custom? Why would you use it? What's your sort of reasoning?
I'd go adaptive.
Yeah.
Homework, so you don't have kids who are struggling with material. being stuck at home.
Yeah.
So they can click and be working out their level at home. I'd probably use the custom more for in class, so I can float around and help.
Yeah.
And at home, like if mum and dad aren't maths whizzes, then they can at least get hints on the way
Okay.
and
Yeah.
work out their level. I think that's how I do it.
Now you might use custom homework when it's coming close to the exam, when you're setting the vision.
Yeah, good point.
For it.
Yep.
On the homework thing, 'cause my daughter's school uses it, but I get an email from the school telling me that she's got tasks. Is that, there's the option for them to, I didn't see
Yeah.
an option
Yep.
there for you to add.
So if I
Yeah.
jump to the
Details.
admin, yeah, thanks. That's really good. That's a really good feature. Really good point. So once I've got my students in, I can jump to that student and I can add parent details for that individual student, and I can opt for them to receive notifications. So that parent will now receive an email prompting them to set up a parent account, where they'll be able to view the mastery, the homework due. So for yourself, you're a parent of a student using
Yeah.
MathSpace, and so have you set up that parent account?
No, I
Is that
didn't notice that bit. I just get the emails
Okay,
and just
yeah.
say, Tegan, you've got so many assignments due. I'm getting emails about it, and she has a whinge and then goes and sets off and doesn't.
okay? Yeah.
But yeah, no, I didn't register that I could set up an account.
Yeah,
with
so I
it.
think it's
We missed it.
possibly it's in the first email that gets sent through. So it might have just been a case of missing the link or something. But yeah, that's actually an option that we give to parents. So you can check your email history and it might be there. And so yeah, what that does is allows for parents to actually look through all that mastery that you can see